Let's Wake Up Wyoming. My name is Glenn Woods. Cassie, Wyoming Liberty Group, is on the phone with me, who I haven't had a chance to talk to in a while, and I miss you.
Oh, Glenn, I miss you.
Yeah.
Good morning.
Next time I'm in, because I'm in and out of your area. I mean, I'm all over the place right now, so I'm going to have to get a hold of you, and let's just go sit and have lunch and talk for a while, because it's been a while. I stop by the offices sometimes, but of course you're in and out too. So
yes, I've been running around like crazy. So.
Okay. I did get a chance last time I was there. I took a tour of, everybody just go find something to do. Cassie and I need to talk here. Have you been in the Herschler building? Have you been in the Herschler?
No, not lately.
Oh, my Lord,
no.
You'll get lost. You will get lost in the Herschler building. I went in there because I used to walk to the Capitol, and as you know, as you're heading toward the Capitol, right across from the Supreme Court building, there was that tall building, and I could go in and talk to the superintendent of public instruction. And if I walked into the Capitol, there were various offices there that I could talk to but now, except for the governor's office, and he's not in the Capitol yet, those offices are ceremonial offices, you understand, the treasurer, people like that. You have to go to the Herschler building. Now, I'm downstairs with the lady Alex, and the first thing that happens is we get lost the moment we walk through the door. And then we're told that every floor on the way up is a completely different floor plan, so it just gets worse. We had to seriously, every time I wanted to go talk to somebody else, we had to get guided. And we were even told at one point we're about to step into an elevator. Not that elevator. It doesn't take you where you want to go.
Oh, wow.
I'd say that's the perfect building for bureaucrats, designed obviously by a bureaucrat. That's the Herschler building. If you go there, careful, I swear to God, there's a minotaur wandering around somewhere. All right. Having said that, I stopped by Governor Gordon's office. He's across the street there in what used to be a funeral home, Write Your Own Jokes. Mm-hmm. And he and I had a very nice conversation in his office, and we did talk budget. And he actually is interested in providing a budget that offers some major cuts. And I had written an article for the Wake Up Wyoming website on what I think some of those cuts should be, and I was able to explain it to him. Now, you've been looking into this, so do you, Wyoming Liberty Group, have an idea of what should be cut? Are you hopeful this time that we might actually make some cuts?
I am. I've also spoken with the governor, and I feel pretty confident that he's going to do the right thing here. I think that he's been a good fiscal conservative. I think he's being thoughtful about it, which is never a bad thing.
Right.
I was at his efficiency commission that he appointed last week, and they did their final report, recommended to him some $81 million in cuts.
Okay.
And that's the kind of cuts that we're really supporting right now. You know, let's take the easy stuff first and then see where we are before we start talking about taxes. So these kind of cuts that really don't cut people, they don't cut services to the Wyoming people. We're looking at how to make government more efficient and operate more like a business that makes money. So this is things like systematic purchases and downsizing departments and boards and commissions, you know, maybe combining the HR departments across the state into one rather than having each agency have their own.
Okay, but that's
not included
though,
in the $81 million.
If you do that, you still have to let some people go, which I'm okay with.
Right.
You do have to let some people go. You have to downsize.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting to. That the HR recommendation is not included in that $81 million. That $81 million is literally just systematic purchases and things like that don't cut people. But what we're starting to look into, Glenn, is more of those consolidation ideas and how much money that would really save. That's the next step. You know, let's take this $81 million that's easy off the top and then start looking at where we could trim down government. And so combining those HR departments is something that I know the governor has looked at, and I think it would be a huge save. But things like that are going to take some time to really figure out how we're going to do that logistically. So in the meantime, that $81 million, I mean, that's 4 times as much as they expected the corporate income tax to bring in.
Yeah.
So let's start doing some of those things and then see where we are after that.
And the governor did say, before anyone even considered, and I know there's always people out there, even during the good times, that want to raise taxes. But even before we even look at any raise in taxes, we have got to take a look at what to cut. So I agree with him on that. I did get a chance to talk to him about some big ticket items. Now, one of the ones I suggested to him was if a company wants to come to Wyoming or build in Wyoming, and they can't get investors, and a bank will not back them with loans, then the state of Wyoming should not be loaning them money or giving them any kind of grants of any kind. And his idea was, yeah, not exactly what I want, but it doesn't sound like it sounds like he partially agrees with me and wants to try doing it a different way. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think that that's a fair
Yeah.
fair assessment. And you've seen programs like, Endow and the Business
Yeah.
Council, kind of big government propping up private business, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm never a huge fan of because I think that people abuse it. I think that it might have had a good intention to begin with, but businessmen got wealthy for a reason, right?
Right.
And they know how to utilize these low interest loans and grants to get their feet under them. I mean, Sam Galliotis is one, for example, who's a very smart businessman, and I know that was a big portion of how he made a lot of his wealth. And so you see it being a practice for the rich to get richer rather than, starting new business, which I think was the framework under which it was intended. But by the same token, a conversation everyone's been talking about is diversification, and how do we diversify, and how do we get out of being so reliant upon coal and minerals. And so I think that a lot of people think that you need to have something like that to bring new business in. But what they fail to understand, and what the Wyoming Liberty Group is really in support of, there is nothing that will explode the economy quicker than deregulation. If you make it easier for business to come in, and if you make the tax environment very favorable, then that'll happen on its own. You don't need government grants and low-interest loans for people who shouldn't probably be getting them, because there's a reason the bank won't give them. The business is too risky. So the state shouldn't be carrying something like that. If you make it a good regulatory environment, and if you keep that tax liability low, you see huge entities and business endeavors coming in. Look at blockchain, for example. We're on the forefront of all of that, and you're seeing huge businesses, multi-million-dollar companies coming in and saying, hey, Wyoming's got a great tax environment, and we're on the precipice of blockchain here, and other states are copying our laws. Colorado's trying to figure out what we're doing so they can get up to speed with us. And it's those sorts of things that are really going to diversify the economy naturally. You don't need Big Brother to do that for you.
Now, it sounds to me, in listening to the governor talk, that the Endow program is something that he wants to cut way back on. I think you're probably with me, as I'd just like to kill it altogether. But if we don't get that, Endow may be seriously cut back on. Did you get that impression?
Well, I hope so. I haven't talked to the governor too much in depth about that, but I hope so. I know originally that he was pretty supportive of Endow, but I think that he, like a lot of people, just wanted to do anything he could to diversify the economy and get something moving. I think since that time, though, anybody with a pair of eyes can realize it's expensive, and it's not really government's role, and it's not helping anything. And another key piece, besides the tax environment and the deregulation, is you really start working toward technical education and things like that for kids. Because if we keep the kids in the state in a range of areas, that's what's going to help the economy also. The more limited access that we have to educational mechanisms, and the more limited those degrees are, the more times kids are going to graduate and then get out of the state, go to college somewhere else, and then stay there for those kind of jobs. So I'd like to see us moving toward a more of a technical education model, and I think the governor has been a huge supporter of apprenticeships and all sorts of things that head in that direction, and he's realizing Endow can be done a lot cheaper in a different way. That's
Okay.
a better role for government.